Tennessee has some downright weird laws on the books. I'm talking about skunk ownership, or the correct way to ride a bicycle in our great state. Some are leftovers of a bygone era that have just kind of stuck around. Consider the fact that there are penalties for dueling in the Constitution of Tennessee. Here's a look at 4 weird laws in Tennessee, and we'll have a look at some weird laws that you might have seen out there that just aren't real. All right, let's start with one of my favorites, skunks. Because in Tennessee, skunks aren't just stinky, they're illegal. In state law, it is illegal to import, possess, sell, barter, exchange, or otherwise transfer a live skunk anywhere in the state. That means you can't bring one in from another state, you can't buy one, you can't sell one, and you definitely can't just decide you're going to keep one as a pet. There are exactly 2 situations where you are allowed to possess a live skunk in Tennessee, and both are really, really specific. Number 1, if you are a zoo or a legitimate research institution. Number 2, if you're a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, only if it came from the wild and only for the purpose of rehabilitation and then released back into the wild. Talk about specific. Violating the law is a Class C misdemeanor in Tennessee. So you're looking at $50 and a month in the pokey for keeping that skunk. That's the lowest level criminal offense in the state, but it is still a criminal charge, still a court date, and still something that can kind of follow you around. So I imagine you're sitting at a job interview and the hiring manager is like, well, your resume looks great. You made a great impression with the team. However, HR flagged this Class C misdemeanor from Tennessee. Something about transporting a skunk across state lines. Next time you're thinking about taking that skunk home, think about it. Think about what it could mean for your future. All right, now before we leave skunks, can we just take a second to appreciate how amazing this little bit of stock video is? I found this on a website that I use. This looks to be 2 skunks, one albino, and they're both in one of those big hamster wheel things. They're behind a gate and they're in a shopping mall. Folks, that's the level of quality you can expect over here at State Beale. But all that said, though, I think skunks are way cool and they get a bad reputation. Now, here's a weird law that's pretty funny, and it was kind of hot news back in the day. Tennessee's roadkill law. If a wild animal is accidentally killed by a motor vehicle, you are generally allowed to possess that animal for your personal use and consumption. It says you can literally keep it, take it home, and eat it. I don't guess you can have to take it home, according to the law. Okay, now this isn't open season free-for-all. The law puts a few straight lines around what you can and can't do. For example, motorists don't have to report most roadkill to keep it. But there are 2 specific cases in which you do. If the animal you hit is a deer, you've got to notify the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency or the TWRA or any law enforcement officer. You got to do this within 48 hours, give your name and your address before you can keep that deer. If it's a bear, you can only keep it after a TWRA enforcement officer authorizes it and issues you a kill tag. For all other wild animals accidentally killed by a vehicle, as long as they're not some protected species, you can take them home and eat them without any paperwork. If you somehow violate Tennessee's roadkill rule, again, this is another Class C misdemeanor. So if you're driving around out there and you hit a raccoon, a possum, an armadillo, or even a turkey on the highway, under Tennessee law, that critter is yours to take home and cook, as long as you follow the deer and bear rules and it's not a protected species. Before we get back to the real weird stuff that's actually on the books, let's clear out a few of these myths that you're going to see floating around the internet about weird laws in Tennessee. Myth number 1, you can't shoot anything other than a whale from a moving vehicle in Tennessee. I looked around and I couldn't find where this myth even might have come from, but I don't have to tell you that it's bunkum. Happy to admit that I'm wrong on this or any of this. You show me a link to the law and I will apologize publicly and vow to never shoot anything but a whale from my car window. Myth number 2, a woman can't call a man on the phone and ask him on a date. I've seen it claimed as a state law. I've seen it claimed as a city law in Dyersburg and Oneida, but I looked as hard as all of my years in journalism have taught me to, and I couldn't find a thing on this. There are other long-standing internet stuff out there about it being illegal to hold hands in public in Tennessee, and that bear wrestling is somehow illegal or legal. All of it, bunk 'em. And right before we get back to the real stuff, please like and subscribe. It will help me make more great Tennessee stuff down the road, and I would just really appreciate it. Thanks. All right, back on the real stuff. Tennessee has pretty strict laws about how you ride your bike. All right, it's something I would never have thought about until I saw it in black and white. It's in Tennessee Code Annotated 55-8173 for anybody reading along at home. A person riding a bicycle must be sitting on a permanent regular seat attached to that bike, and they must be sitting astride that seat. So that means like no sideways riding, like side saddle, no riding on the handlebars, no surfing on the frame or the top bar like you think you're cool. And this applies to everybody except, quote, for a certified police cyclist who is performing duties that require riding in a side dismounting position. I get it, you got to ride side saddle, especially if you're going to dismount quickly to run down the guy who just robbed the bank, right? I don't know how they do that. But okay, everybody else, you ain't catching no bank robber out there. You got to ride astride the saddle, bro. The law also says you can't carry more people on a bike than it's designated for. So if your bike is built for one, you can't try to squeeze your buddies on there because it feels cool, okay? Can't do it. Tennessee state law. Violating the bicycle law is another one of those Class C misdemeanors. In this state, you ride like you're meant to ride. Right there in the seat and one at a time. Unless it's a bicycle built for two, I guess. And finally, here's one that sounds like it came out of an old Western, but it's real enough to still be right in the Tennessee Constitution. In Article 9, Section 3 of the Tennessee Constitution, there's a line that deals with dueling. Yes, that old practice of settling disputes with pistols at dawn. It says this: any person who, after the adoption of this Constitution, fights a duel or knowingly carries or accepts a challenge to fight one or helps somebody to do it will be deprived of the right to hold any office of honor or profit in this state and can be punished in other ways the legislature decides. All right, here's what that actually means. First up, there's no criminal penalty itself. It's a constitutional restriction. So if someone duels, they can't hold public office in Tennessee. Now, the legislature could add further punishment by law, but the Constitution itself just deals with the public office eligibility. All right, why it's there. Back when this provision was adopted, dueling was still a thing. It was a deadly way to settle disputes. And a lot of southern states wrote clauses like this into their constitutions in the 1800s to discourage it. The idea was simple. If you are willing to solve problems with guns or pistols, you're not fit to run the government. So again, if you're thinking about dueling, don't. All right, Tennessee definitely has some weird laws on the books. There are others, and if you know some, please let me know in the comments. And if I can collect enough new ideas out there, I'll make another video. For now, though, please don't get into a duel, okay? Please don't sit side saddle on your bike. And please, that skunk you found, leave it in the woods, y'all. All right, thank y'all so much for watching. If Tennessee is your thing, State and Beale is your thing, y'all come on and join me. Thank you.